Biblical geography refers to the study of the physical landscapes, locations, and geographical features detailed within the Bible. It offers insight into the historical and cultural context of biblical narratives by linking them to real-world locations and natural phenomena. This field examines how geography shapes the stories and events described in the scriptures, providing a tangible framework to understand the Bible's teachings and historical accounts. The significance of biblical geography lies in its ability to ground these ancient stories in reality, making them more relatable and understandable to modern readers. By tracing the steps of biblical figures across actual landscapes, we gain a better appreciation of their experiences and the challenges they faced. It helps illuminate the cultural and historical settings of biblical events, offering a multi-dimensional view of the scriptures that enriches our understanding. Consider the example of the Exodus journey in the Old Testament. The route that the Israelites took from Egypt through the Red Sea and into the wilderness of Sinai can be explored geographically, allowing historians and believers alike to visualize and comprehend the scale and difficulty of this pivotal event. Another example is the geographical setting of Jesus' ministry around the Sea of Galilee, which provides insights into his teachings and the socio-economic conditions of the era. Scholars and theologians often point out that understanding these landscapes can deepen faith and comprehension. By studying geography, one grasps the subtleties of climate and terrain that influence the culture, politics, and religion of biblical times. However, challenges arise from the evolving landscapes, where modern development or political boundaries make it difficult to pinpoint exact locations. Moreover, some skeptics argue that certain biblical events lack archaeological evidence, sparking debate over historical accuracy. Despite controversies, biblical geography underscores the interconnectedness of the physical and spiritual narratives within the Bible. It reveals how geography influences the unfolding of key events and the lives of biblical figures. This concept links to broader discussions on the authenticity of biblical stories and the relationship between scripture and history. As we continue to explore these ancient landscapes, our understanding and appreciation of biblical wonders continue to grow, providing a bridge between past and present for both scholars and believers. The heading Biblical Wonders, Geography and Locations that Illuminate the Stories, delves into the crucial role geographical settings play in enhancing the understanding and appreciation of biblical narratives. This concept emphasizes how the physical landscapes and locations mentioned in the Bible are not mere backdrops, but integral elements that bring to life the stories and teachings within the scriptures. By examining these geographical wonders, we gain deeper insights into the historical, cultural, and spiritual contexts that shape biblical events. The significance of geography in biblical narratives is profound. It influences the storyline, shapes the actions of the characters, and underscores many of the spiritual lessons conveyed. Places like Mount Sinai, the Red Sea, and the Jordan River are examples of how geography is intertwined with pivotal biblical events. Mount Sinai, for instance, is where Moses is said to have received the Ten Commandments, a foundational moment in Judeo-Christian theology. Its rugged and remote landscape reflects the gravity and solemnity of this divine encounter. The parting of the Red Sea, traditionally associated with the Gulf of Aqaba or the Suez Canal, exemplifies a miraculous event where geography was dramatically altered to provide passage and deliverance for the Israelites. These geographic symbols extend beyond their biblical references and have influenced contemporary thought and religious experience. Pilgrimages to these significant locations continue to this day, with millions visiting the Holy Land to walk where biblical figures once did, enhancing their spiritual connection and understanding of biblical narratives. Similarly, archaeological endeavors tied to these locations continually provide insights and even ignite debates over the historical veracity of biblical accounts, illustrating a tangible intersection between faith and empirical study. Challenges arise, however, in pinpointing exact locations due to the passage of time and the often ambiguous descriptions found in ancient texts. Scholarly debate persists over the precise sites of events like the crossing of the Red Sea or the exact location of Mount Sinai, with arguments based on historical, theological, and archaeological evidence. These controversies enrich the dialogue between scholarship and faith, prompting deeper exploration and discussion. Geography and location do not merely complement biblical tales. They shape their narratives and provide a frame within which these stories unfold. They anchor the spiritual themes in physical reality, underscoring the intersection between divine intervention and human history. Understanding the geographical context enriches our comprehension of these ancient stories, highlighting their enduring significance and their ability to resonate across time and cultures. The concept of the Promised Land, specifically Canaan, holds profound significance both geographically and symbolically within biblical narratives. Canaan, often referred to as a land flowing with milk and honey, serves not only as a physical destination, but also as a metaphor for divine promise and fulfillment. It represents the tangible manifestation of God's covenant with the Israelites, signifying hope, redemption, and the endurance of faith through adversity. In the context of biblical wonders, the geography of Canaan is pivotal. Its location in the ancient Near East, bridging Africa and Asia, made it strategically significant for trade and warfare. This geography underscores the narratives of conquests and divine interventions that are central to the biblical stories. For example, the crossing of the Jordan River under Joshua's leadership into Canaan is seen not just as a military maneuver, but as a spiritual passage, emblematic of moving from oppression to freedom. Similarly, the lush and fertile valleys of the region symbolize abundance and divine provision, contrasting the Israelites' prior life of scarcity in the desert. Real-world applications of the Promised Land symbolism are evident in both religious and cultural contexts. For many, the land of Israel remains a powerful symbol of spiritual homeland and salvation, deeply embedded in Jewish identity and religious practices. Additionally, concepts of a promised land have transcended religious discourse and have been adopted into broader narratives of social justice and liberation, notably in the civil rights movement, where leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. used the metaphor to articulate visions of racial justice and equality. However, the idea of Canaan as a promised land is not without challenges and controversies. The historical and ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict underscores the complexity of assigning divine promise to a specific geography, highlighting tensions between historical, religious, and political claims. Critics argue that such narratives can perpetuate exclusionary ideologies and justify territorial disputes. Despite these challenges, the Promised Land continues to be a central theme that interconnects various biblical stories of pursuit, struggle, and reward. It influences themes of divine destiny and human perseverance that resonate throughout biblical literature, providing lessons and insights valuable to contemporary audiences. This concept invites exploration of how sacred geography shapes not just historical narratives, but also our understanding of faith, promise, and coexistence in a turbulent world. As part of the broader topic of biblical wonders, the Promised Land's multifaceted role illuminates not just the stories themselves, but the enduring power of place and narrative in religious and cultural imagination. The heading Biblical Wonders, Geography and Locations that Illuminate the Stories, invites exploration into how the physical landscapes of biblical narratives enhance our understanding of these ancient texts. Geography forms a foundational layer in biblical storytelling, offering context and deeper meaning to the events described. Geographic locations mentioned in the Bible, such as Jerusalem, Jericho, and the Red Sea, aren't just backdrops, but active components that contribute to the narrative's symbolism and historical authenticity. The significance of these geographic references lies in their ability to root biblical stories in real-world contexts, making the spiritual lessons and historical events more tangible to believers and scholars alike. Jerusalem, for instance, is not just the capital of ancient Israel. It represents a spiritual hub, a site of divine human interaction that holds religious importance for Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The crossing of the Red Sea, described in the Exodus story, symbolizes liberation and faith, with its geography reinforcing the miraculous nature of the event. To illustrate, consider Mount Sinai, traditionally identified with a mountain in the Sinai Peninsula. It is emphasized in the Hebrew Bible as the site where Moses received the Ten Commandments. This physical location serves as a powerful symbol of covenant and law, bridging divine command with earthly practice. Another example is the Jordan River, which not only marks the boundary of the Promised Land but also represents spiritual rebirth. Notably in the New Testament, where Jesus is baptized by John the Baptist, an act that signifies purification and new beginnings. However, these connections also present challenges. The exact locations of many biblical sites are subject to debate among historians and archaeologists, leading to controversies over their historicity. For instance, the debate over the real location of Mount Sinai has produced various hypotheses, with no definitive archaeological evidence confirming any one site. These uncertainties sometimes fuel skepticism about the literal truths of biblical narratives. Despite these challenges, the geographic aspects of biblical stories remain integral, influencing religious traditions, liturgical practices, and even geopolitical realities. They enrich the narratives with layers of meaning that stretch beyond time and space, providing believers with a sense of connection to the sacred past. As one delves deeper into biblical geography, these locations reveal the interplay between divine storytelling and the physical world, illustrating how geography not only narrates but indeed illuminates the divine narratives of the Bible.